In the last episode, took the gearbox out and most of the suspension. Now I'm pressing out the old wheel bearings and I can get everything on the bench, all suspension parts, the cradles that held the gearbox in. Aqua blast them all clean to make them look like new. All that lots to do. There's the aqua blasting machine. Couldn't do this job without it. There's a front hub with the bearing removed, and there's a one I've cleaned in the aqua blaster. Looking almost like new, ready for some paint. Yes, the other side's just as clean. And that's how they were, very crusty, rusty. That's how they were, very crusty, rusty. After a good going over in the aqua blaster, they come out almost like new. As I'd taken the intercooler off, I decided to give that a clean as well. But then I remembered I'm replacing it for a front mount. One of the drive shafts done. Again, coming up looking like new. I'm going to strip them down, put new boots on them because they're perished, and paint them. Time for a bit of paint. I'm using satin black, just like standard factory. Very strong 2-pack paint. That should last and just look like factory. Now I'm going to take the front subframe off and see how many bolts I can snap. That one's come out. And that one's come out. As you can see, there's a lot of bolts holding that subframe in. And everyone came out. Not one snapped, amazingly. The very back 2 bolts, you just loosen them a bit and the subframe hangs on slots so it doesn't fall on your head. So loosen the 2 bolts, drop the subframe a bit, and then you can just gently pull it away from the 2 remaining bolts. Now I'm going to remove the suspension wishbones that are still attached to the body and to the engine subframe, and then attempt to get the anti-roll bar off, but the bolts are totally rotten, the caps are rotten, and that engine cradle they're attached to is totally rotten. Front anti-roll bar bushes have definitely seen better days. I think we'll maybe replace those. Now I'm going to remove this bracing plate just so I can access the steering rack. And the steering rack turned out to be a bit of a pain to get off, as you'll see. I'm just going to remove the steering knuckle that joins the rack to the steering column. the engine mounting bolts. So I can lift the engine up and out, but leave the cradle in place, and there's 2 bolts either side that hold the cradle to the car, so there's nothing going to fall on my head. Actually, I think I'm taking the steering rack bolts out. In hindsight, I should have just left the steering rack attached to that cradle and just lifted the engine out and dealt with the steering rack on the floor. Although I probably couldn't do that thinking about it, because the hydraulic pipes are attached to it. That's right, I did this a couple of weeks ago. I've had to take the steering rack bolts out and then take the hydraulic pipes off, which are a bit of a squeeze because they're sort of half in the subframe and half out. So yeah, and of course there's fluid dropping on your head while you do this. Great fun. Now we have to disconnect the radiator hoses, top and bottom, and the radiator hoses on the bulkhead. You can just see on the left of the screen. Throttle cable has to come off, a few more water pipes to the bottles on the left, a couple of wiring plugs, but you'll see as we go along. A couple of small radiator hoses from the top of the radiator disconnect, and then the radiator can lift out. As you can see, because I've loosened the engine mountings, the engine is rocked forward, so I'll have to push it back to get the radiator out. Then the air conditioning condenser radiator, whatever you want to call it, can come out. Removing the accelerator cable, throttle cable if you wish. Now the alternator lead, that's the main battery lead, and then there's sort of warning light plug as well to come out. think there's an earth lead over there I'm taking off. I must apologise for all the noise in the background. I can't even remember what that was. Just somebody working on the next hoist, I guess. I'm now disconnecting the fuel hoses. There's a feed and a return, so there's two pipes. Get them out the way. And now the heater water hoses down the back of the engine. A couple of those to remove. Over this side of the engine, the power steering reservoir, get out of the way. A couple of wiring blocks to disconnect over this side. And probably remove the air filter, just makes it a little bit easier. There we go, that's everything separated pretty much. Coolant hose is off. Just keep checking around the engine. A couple of vacuum hoses, get them out of the way. And I think we're ready for liftoff. Always keep checking just in case. And sure enough, I've found a wiring block, I think, that needs to be disconnected. Yeah. You've actually got to turn the engine slightly just so it clears the oxygen sensor on this side of the car. Just the engine cradle to come out. This is me pretending to take the bolts out. I'd already taken them out. There's two each side go into the frame. And it's stuck to the car. So a little bit of persuasion and it's out.
Oh, and that is that. Engine out, front subframe out. Got a lot of stuff cleaned and painted yesterday. Got a lot of stuff cleaned and painted yesterday, so happy days with that. What to do next? Clean up and paint all the front end, paint the engine bay, make it look beautiful. Engine I'm not going to strip down because I know it's good. All the history's there, I've had it running. Fit a new clutch, fit a new cam belt, fit a new water pump. Clean it all, put it all back together. Hurrah! Thanks for watching. See you next time.